Bodacious block series, we're going to be doing the Churn Dash. This is a beautiful 24-inch block that is super fast and super fun to make. You know those times when you need a gift fast? Well, here's an easy one to do. We're going to be using different fabrics. I've chosen baseball, which is great for the guys in your life. So what we're going to need is two 9-inch blocks, one 8.5-inch block, a whole strip that is 4.5 by the width of fabric, that's about 40 inches, two accent colors, so 9-inch blocks, and another 4.5-inch by width of fabric. And as you can see, I've gone ahead and labeled them E, D, C, B, and A. But I'm going to start with the 9-inch ones, which is the A and the D. I'm going to move the others out of the way for now. As you can see, the A and the D are going to be right here. So I'm going to be drawing a diagonal line one time on the back of one of the fabrics. And I'll just choose the lighter fabric, which is my background fabric. And I just draw one diagonal line on each of the background fabrics. And I've just used a pen since it's not going to really show up once I've cut. I'm going to be cutting on that line. Then I take my D fabrics, right sides together with the background fabric. And I'm going to pin. I have my little magic pins here. And I just need to pin it on either side so that we have it a little bit stabilized. Now remember from the last video, pressing matters, the one I've done before. If you've missed it, let me just review real quick. I'm just going to give it a quick spray and iron it. This helps just stabilizes the threads before I stitch on the diagonal and cut on the diagonal. I'm going to do a scant 1/4-inch seam from the diagonal line. Because once I'm finished, I'm going to just square this up. And as you know, if I cut a 9-inch block, it's going to be a hair bigger than what I need. And that's exactly what I want to do. So the 1/4-inch seam. And I do this for both blocks. So now I'm just going to iron it and give it a quick iron just to get the seams completely flat. And with my cutting mat, I'm going to cut right on the line that I drew, the diagonal line. There's two. And there's two. And now it's time to press. I'm going to turn it to the darker side of my two fabrics. Remember, I lift gently, finger press. Close that. Lift gently, finger press, open. And I'm going to repeat it with the other three. Now that it's pressed beautifully, we're going to square them up. So now I'm going to take my ruler, and this one happens to just be a 12.5-inch. You can really use anything that's bigger than an 8.5-inch, because we're going to square this up to a 8.5-inch square. So here's my diagonal line right here, and I'm going to put it right on my diagonal. And I'm going to look down and find the 8.5, and then I'm just going to square this up. And then I turn it and do it again. This time I'm going to make sure that the diagonal is lined up once again, and I'm going to check for the 8.5-inch line. There. So that's what it's going to look like when it's finished. It's just a nice square. I'm going to repeat that with the other 4. So now we're going to take our 4.5-inch strips and sew them right sides together. But let me just show you real quick how I do a cut for the 4.5. We're going to trim this down to 4.5 inch. This is a 5 inch, so I need to lose a 1/2 inch on this. So I'm going to line it up with my ruler. I'm not really minding what the lines on the board are saying. I'm more concerned about my ruler being 4.5. And then I'm going to cut off the excess. There, that's 4.5. Lose that. So now that I have both pieces at 4.5 inches, all I'm going to do is sew right sides together down the hot dog side of it. Do you remember that from elementary school? This is the hot dog side, that's the hamburger side. I don't know. Some things just stick with you all your life. So let's get sewing. Remember, it's a 1/4 inch seam. This time it's just going to be a regular 1/4 inch. So I love this fabric. Nice baseball, fun summer. It's perfect for birthday parties. Guys get together, girls get together. Picnics, it's just fun. Okay, so there's the 1/4 inch seam. If you're wondering if your 1/4 inch seam is accurate or not, I have another video on making sure you have accurate 1/4 inch seam, so you can check it out and see if yours is a perfect 1/4 inch. So now we're going to come back over here and press this open. Remember, we want the dark side. So when I'm looking at these two, it's easy to tell which side is the dark one. So I'm going to put the dark side up, and I'm going to be using my line again. Make sure it stays nice and straight. Finger press it open. I've chosen to make some of my videos with a small space. It's just sewing machine and a very little space. And the reason why I wanted to do this is to demonstrate that you can do this while you're on a retreat, or if you have a small space in your house, you can't commit to a sewing studio, or you don't want to overtake a whole room in your house with quilting. Nothing wrong with that though. But you can see it doesn't take a lot of space to be able to enjoy and have fun with quilting. So this is the last piece. There. So now it's pressed open. Yes! Look how nice that seam is. I love pressing. So we're going to put this down and find our cutting board. We're going to cut these at 8.5 inches. But first of all, I need to lose this end. I don't want this in my quilt. So I'm just going to cut it off. And I'm going to line up across the top or along this line to make sure that my cut here is straight. Good. Now I'm just going to measure over 8.5 inches. 8.5 inches, and then cut. And there's one. And this is going to be right here. Ta-da! So let's do that 4 more times to get that. I'm using this line as my straight line edge. There's 8.5. Looks perfect. And I try hard to close my rotary cutter after each cut if I'm going to be putting it down. It does not feel good if it falls on your foot. So I have it lined up again. There's 8.5. There. There's 3, and we just need 1 more. So the other thing I wanted to point out is I'm not putting it right on top of a number because I find these numbers are hard to see through. So I find one of the dotted lines to line it up on. 8.5. So now I have 4 of these. I have 4 of these, and I have 1 for the center. So now it's time to assemble. Well, we should first look at what we're going to be working with. So this is our center square. These are my half square triangles right here. So they're going to go up in the upper corner, and I want the red pointing into the center. Then I'm going to put the blues right around here with the blues pointing into the center. It looks great. I'm so excited. Now we can sew them all together. I'm going to start with the center piece folded over to the far left. So I'm going to line these up together. And then the 1/4 inch seam, the famous 1/4 inch seam. Making sure they stay lined up. When I get to the end of this, I am not going to cut the thread off. I'm going to just leave it attached and just stitch a few stitches off. I'm going to pick up the middle one and the one next to it on the far left. Right sides together. Corners matched up. And then I'm going to grab the last 2, the one from the bottom center and the far left. Right sides together and stitch. So now I have kind of like a little kite going. So I'm going to open these up again. I'm not cutting these apart. I would like to keep them together for now. And then I just go back and grab, this is the top one. I grab the far right top, put them together, and match the corners and stitch it together. One thing I like to do with this part is to make sure that the top edge is meeting straight across. Even though I won't be sewing there, it helps keep everything lined up for me. It's just a quick step, but it's worth it. Match up the bottom corners. Grab the next one, open it up. Put them right sides together, matching the corners, checking across the top. As I said, it's a super fast check. It's not time consuming. So for the last one, remember, right sides together, match the corners, check across the top, 1/4 inch seam, and we're off. Line up the bottom, cut the thread. So let's see what we have now. We have all 3 sections sewn together. I want to take a second now and press, and then I can finish it. So I'm going to press these pieces to the center and these pieces out, so it'll be an easier assembly. So let me get my ironing board back up here. So let me start with the center section, since I can remember that easiest, that it's going to be going in. So to make it easier, I just lift up the center a little bit, fold that flat, and lightly finger press and then press. And I'm going to do it to the other side. Just lift up the center piece a little bit, find the fabric, finger press open, finger press it, and then iron it down. And then for these pieces, I want to press them out. So all I do is I flip it over, flip it back so the seam is the direction I want it to be in, finger press, and press. The same with the other side. Flip it back. And this helps just make sure that the seams are going in the direction I want them to go in. Turn this whole thing around. Finger press open. Now that I have that done, I'm just going to fold these over. Since I have them still attached, it's super easy for me to see what goes where. So let me fold this out for you so you see. Now I'm just going to fold this down right here. I can snuggle my seams together like so, and then I'm going to sew it down. But let me just pin it real quick at the intersections to help hold them in place. So there's one intersection snuggled together, and I am pinning right on the seam. It just helps me to make sure that they will stay together and they're hitting exactly where I want them to hit. And then I can sew. So when I'm sewing, I have to remember, do not run over the pins. It might be fun the first time, but it's going to cause a problem later on. Especially if your needle hits the pin, you can do all sorts of stuff. And I like to keep my finger on the pin just to remind me that I have a pin there. And as I get close to it, I'm just going to make sure I get as close as I can before I take it out. There. Take out the pin. And now I'm happy to travel on. Take the pin out. And then line up the last corner. Make sure the edges are nice. Beautiful. And before I iron it, I'm just going to go ahead and sew the last section together, and then we'll see how we iron it. So I flip it over, line them up. I'm going to snuggle the seams together and pin it. So corners together. That looks nice, straight across. And now we're gonna sew. Sewing is done. All we have left is pressing, and we will be finished. So I'm just gonna make these little clips here where I have joined the threads together. So it's easier to do a pretty pressing. So on the back side, you'll see that we can twist the fabric so that one side irons up and one side irons down, so it's nice and flat. And sometimes it doesn't work like you want, but that's okay. Try the best you can. That's what's important. So I'm going to iron these two seams, which are the ones that we just created. So finger press and iron. Finger press and iron. Love these intersections. Nice and straight and on point. And down here. I'm going to open up these little center seams. There. So this one's going to be pressed this way. This will be pressed this way. And this is there. There. Ta-da! There we have it, the 24-inch Bodacious block. Thank you for joining me today with Quite Clever Quilting. I'm Deb. Hope to see you next time on another Bodacious block series.